The Galactic Concorde's flagship station, Aetheris, floated like a gleaming jewel at the heart of the stellar assembly. Its massive, ring-shaped structure was bathed in the cold light of a distant sun, surrounded by the endless void of space. Inside, delegates from dozens of star systems mingled, majestic beings with iridescent skin, others wrapped in ancient robes, and some with metal limbs that hummed softly. Yet none drew more attention than the lone human ambassador standing before the grand audience. Lena Ma, Earth's representative, adjusted the lapel of her uniform as she stepped onto the podium. Her eyes scanned the assembly hall, filled with alien dignitaries who regarded her with curious skepticism. Only a decade ago, humanity was a fringe species, technologically inferior and culturally fragmented. Now, Earth was being admitted as a full member of the Galactic Concorde, a milestone achieved after relentless effort and sacrifice. Her voice rang clear, cutting through the hum of chatter. Today, humanity steps forward not just as survivors of a turbulent past, but as partners. In the future of this galaxy, we bring innovation born from adversity, creativity forged in the fires of our home planet, and a promise to protect, to learn, and to grow together with all species. The crowd applauded politely. Some faces smiled, others remained unreadable. Lena's gaze flicked briefly to the grandstand where the Concorde's council presided. The leader, a tall being called Verithan, inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet, in the shadows behind him, a figure whispered to a companion. Their words were lost to all but Lena's sharp ears. Unpredictable, ... dangerous, too quick to adapt. A chill ran down her spine. The summit concluded with a gala feast. Exotic foods from distant worlds, and music that resonated deep in the bones. But the celebrations felt brittle, like a glass about to shatter. Later that evening, Lena retired to her quarters aboard the station. The room was sparse but comfortable, a fusion of Earth's warmth and alien design. She logged into her secure terminal to review the final reports when an urgent message flashed on the screen. All Sol System satellites offline. Her breath caught. A cascade of alerts followed. Communications erased, dark orbital defense, grids silent, and reports of entire colonies vanishing from sensor scans. Earth was under attack, and the enemy was hidden among the supposed allies. Lena's heart hammered. She activated the station's emergency protocol, summoning her most trusted aides. "Who's behind this?" she demanded, voice low and urgent. "We're analyzing the data," replied Commander Jox, a grizzled veteran of Earth's defense forces. "But all signs point to inside job sabotage by someone with intimate knowledge of our systems." Lena's mind raced. The Galactic Concorde was supposed to be a haven, a pact against the chaos of the stars. Instead, it was a snake coiling in the grass. Suddenly, her terminal flickered with a new incoming transmission. It was untraceable, raw, and broadcast across all frequencies. The message was brief but chilling. "You were warned. Evacuate now." No sender, no signature, just the cold echo of a threat. Lena sat back, swallowing hard. The summit's last moments replayed in her mind, the whispered warnings, the unreadable faces. This was no random strike. It was betrayal, calculated and cold. She gathered her aides. "Prepare for evacuation protocols. We need to secure what remains of our colonies and figure out who betrayed us." Outside the station, Aetheris's great communication arrays flared as emergency broadcasts spread across every human settlement. An allied station. Meanwhile, in the dark corridors of the Concorde Council chambers, shadows moved. A faction once allied now plotted openly against humanity's rise. For them, the unpredictability of humans was not a promise, but a threat to be eliminated. As the starry void swallowed Etheris's golden light, Laena made a silent vow. Humanity would survive this betrayal, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to be forgotten in the cold expanse of space. A new war had begun, one that would test the very soul of humanity. Earth's orbit was a graveyard of flickering lights. Defense satellites, once the vigilant guardians of the Sol system, hung dark and lifeless like fallen sentinels. Across the sprawling network of human colonies scattered on moons and distant planets, silence reigned, a silence born not of peace, but of something far worse. Inside the command center of the orbital station, Sentinel-9, Commander Jox stood, rigid, staring at the endless stream of data flooding in from the few operational sensors left. Red warnings blinked relentlessly on every console. The sabotage was not random. It was precise, surgical, designed to paralyze humanity's lifelines. Loss of communication with the Europa outpost, a young technician reported, voice tight. And the Titan mining colony no responds for over an hour. Jox rubbed his jaw. Status on the defense grid. Completely offline. Automated failsafes triggered a full shutdown to prevent further damage, but that means we're exposed. Ma paced the room, her face a mask of calm beneath the storm inside her chest. The magnitude of the attack was becoming clearer. This was no mere rebellion or external assault. This was a coordinated betrayal from within the Galactic Concorder. Coalition humanity had just joined. Get me the Council archives. We need to find any unusual communications or personnel changes, Laena ordered. The room buzzed with frantic activity as the team scrambled to piece together the puzzle. But every thread led to dead ends, or worse, deliberate erasures. Whoever orchestrated this was a ghost of phantom wielding inside knowledge and hidden power. The news on Earth was grimmer. Panic rippled through cities, from New Shanghai to the Martian domes. Supplies halted, transportation grids failed, and the constant hum of human civilization gave way to uneasy silence in the streets. People stopped to watch the skies, fearing what unseen threat might emerge from the void. Families huddled together, news feeds choked with speculation. Government broadcasts alternating between reassurances and urgent evacuation orders. Laena found herself on the holoscreen of Earth's emergency broadcast, speaking directly to billions. This attack is not an act of war between species. It is a betrayal from those we trusted. But humanity will not fall to treachery. We are resilient. We will endure. Behind her, the Sentinel-9's tactical officers activated the last remaining operational starships, readying them for deployment. The Exodus Fleet humans' fallback plan for catastrophic retreat had been kept secret until now. It was their last hope, but before the evacuation could begin, more darkness descended. Across the outer colonies, entire cities vanished from sensor arrays. In their place were only drifting wreckage and eerie silence. Exploratory drones sent to investigate failed to return, their signals cutting off mid-transmission. One such drone, approaching the Ceres asteroid colony, transmitted a final chilling image before disappearing, a vast automated defense grid powering up, cold and merciless. Its architecture was unlike any known human design. Angular, precise, and deadly. Is this some kind of automated counterattack? Jox muttered. No, Laena said slowly. This is survival. Hidden weapons, systems built in secret, For exactly this moment, the realization hit the command center like a thunderclap. Humanity had not been caught unprepared. They had anticipated Betrayal and had spent years building tools in the shadows. Yet, the question remained, who among the Galactic Concord had turned on them, and why? In the council chambers, a secret faction of alien leaders met behind closed doors. Their voices were low, venomous. Humanity's rise threatens the balance. They are unpredictable, too clever. The sabotage was necessary, hissed one. Another replied, but the broadcast. That threat hit changes everything. If humans are willing to defy us openly, war is inevitable. Elsewhere, the Concord's intelligence divisions scrambled to decode the mysterious message Laina had sent just hours earlier. You were warned. Evacuate now. Some dismissed it as a bluff. Others feared the warning carried weight far beyond words. Back at Sentinel-9, Laina stared at the flickering holomap of human space, marked with red zones of silence and danger. We need to secure our people, she said quietly. But we must also find allies who have not betrayed us. We cannot fight this alone. Commander Jox nodded grimly. We'll send envoys to trusted factions and independent traders. If anyone still stands with humanity, now is the time to prove it. The countdown had begun, not just for evacuation, but for survival itself. Outside the station's reinforced windows, stars blinked in the endless black. Among them, unknown enemies lurked waiting for humanity to falter. But Laina knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of a war that would stretch across the stars and test the limits of what it meant to be human. The hum of the Galactic Concord's communication hub was a steady pulse in the vast emptiness of space. But today it carried a message that would ripple through every corner of the galaxy like a THUNDERCLAP. Ambassador. Laina Ma sat rigid in the command chair, her hands gripping the armrests as her eyes locked on the glowing holoscreens before her. Behind her, the great chamber of the Aetherus flagship was eerily silent, the usual buzz of diplomatic chatter replaced by tense anticipation. She had made the decision. Humanity's patience was exhausted. The betrayal was clear, the wounds deep. And the time for subtlety was over. Activate broadcast, she commanded. Voice steady but fierce. Around the station, channels blinked alive, transmitting the message across the Galactic Concords. Vast network and filtered raw, and impossible to ignore. Laina's voice filled the void, to all civilizations of the Galactic Concord. And any who listen beyond this is humanity's final warning. You betrayed us in secret, sabotaged our homes, and sought to erase our presence. We have endured, we have rebuilt, and now we command you, evacuate all human-affiliated space within 30 standard days. Failure to comply will be met with consequences you cannot imagine. The broadcast ended abruptly, leaving a silence heavier than the black void outside. Within moments, the message echoed across every inhabited star system. Some governments scrambled to dismiss it as a bluffer, desperate cry from a cornered species. Others, however, felt a chill settle over their councils. In the grand halls of the Concord Council, the mood shifted from confusion to fear. Murmurs broke out among alien delegates, some visibly shaking. Verithan, the council leader, leaned heavily on his staff, eyes narrowing. This is an act of war, he declared. We cannot allow humanity to dictate terms. But not all voices agreed. From the shadows, smaller factions whispered of caution and negotiation. wary of underestimating the species they had once tried to crush. Back on Aetheris, Laena watched the galaxy's reaction unfurl like a dark storm. Trade routes shifted, fleets scrambled, and diplomatic envoys raced to their homeworlds. Yet in the corridors, a strange undercurrent stirred. A network of spies, sympathizers, and mercenaries, human and alien alike, began moving covertly, preparing for the storm that was coming. Meanwhile, Earth's secretive projects, hidden deep beneath the surface and beyond detection, ramped up their activity. Vast factories hummed with life, crafting ships unlike any before. These vessels, massive and angular, shimmered with layers of radiation shielding and quantum sensors, designed to operate beyond traditional detection. They were the Exodus, fleet humanity's ultimate gambit for survival and retaliation. Inside one such factory on the moon, engineer Cale Rivers wiped sweat from his brow as he watched the final assembly of a starship's quantum core. Around him, hundreds of technicians worked tirelessly, their faces grim but resolute. "Will it be enough?" a young apprentice asked. Cale's eyes hardened. "It has to be. The galaxy chose betrayal. Now it will answer for it." The broadcast's impact was immediate and undeniable. Panic swept through civilian populations in star systems allied with humanity. Refugees from outer colonies began flooding inner worlds, while governments issued hurried evacuation plans. But pockets of resistance remained, those who doubted humanity's resolve or sought to profit from the chaos. On the outer rim, smugglers and pirates whispered of the human threat, their weapons markets swelling as mercenaries signed contracts to confront the Exodus fleet if it dared enter Concord space. Yet, for all the threats and bravado, the mysterious disappearance of entire fleets sent to intercept or investigate the Exodus fleet added an unsettling truth. Humanity was no longer the same species the Concord once thought they could control. In a hidden war room aboard Aetheris, Laena convened with her closest advisors. Maps of human-controlled space glowed with red marker zones of silence, where communication was lost and ships vanished. "Some say this broadcast was reckless," said Jox, voice rough from weeks of sleepless command. "But if we don't draw the line now, we'll never survive." Laena nodded. "They tried to bury us in silence. We gave them a voice they cannot ignore." Outside the station's massive windows, stars flickered against the black canvas. Somewhere out there, the Exodus fleet prepared to make its move a silent promise to those who had betrayed humanity. Laena closed her eyes briefly, summoning every ounce of strength she had left. The galaxy had been given its final warning. The next chapter would be written not in words, but in fire and memory. Asterisk, the void of space stretched endlessly before the Exodus fleet, a ghostly armada emerging from the swirling gases of the rogue planet Maldic. Their surfaces shimmered under the faint glow of distant stars, massive angular vessels unlike anything the Galactic Concord had ever seen. Unmanned and silent, they moved with eerie precision, their quantum cores humming with power that defied conventional understanding. Commander Jox stood on the bridge of Sentinel-9, watching the fleet's spectral form through the view screen. His jaw tightened. No signs of human crews, just automated vessels' ghosts. Laena, standing beside him, crossed her arms. "Not ghosts, guardians. This fleet is our last line of defense and the spearhead of our warning." The fleet's appearance sent shockwaves throughout the Concord. Fleets were dispatched to intercept, to communicate, to understand, but none returned. Entire squadrons vanished without trace, leaving only silence and confusion in their wake. Deep Within the human remnants scattered across the galaxy, something remarkable was unfolding. Colonies once thought lost to the sabotage had not perished. Instead, they had gone dark, cutting all external communication and sealing themselves behind layers of advanced stealth technology. In the shadowed mines of Titan, underground laboratories hummed with life as scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. They were building not just weapons, but a new form of defense, artificial intelligences programmed with the collective memories and cultural histories of humanity. These AI entities, called the Archivists, were more than machines. They were custodians of human experience, designed to preserve what the betrayal sought to erase. Each carried fragments of stories, songs, and knowledge passed down through generations. In a hidden chamber beneath Europa's ice, Laena activated a terminal. A holographic map displayed dozens of colonies, marked with encrypted signals, the final bastions of humanity's secret resurgence. Every lost colony is a seed, she said, silent, hidden, but growing stronger. Outside the station, the Concord scrambled to respond. Fleets armed themselves for war. Alliances were tested, and trust shattered. But no one could deny the truth. Humanity was no longer vulnerable. Recon drones sent to scout the lost colonies encountered something unexpected. Automated defense grids activated at their approach, firing precise energy blasts that disabled the drones without destroying them. These were not simple turrets, they were calculated, disciplined, and ruthless. The AI defenses are designed to protect, not annihilate, Laena explained. They hold the line until we can return. The galaxy whispered rumors of these ghostly colonies, myths of abandoned worlds haunted by machines that remembered their creators. Traders spoke in hushed tones of strange signals and ghost ships that vanished as quickly as they appeared. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Concord Council chambers, panic grew. Leaders debated desperately, trying to formulate a response to a foe that no one fully understood. Verithan's voice echoed through the halls. We face a species reborn, not through conquest, but through memory and resilience. Their strength lies in what we sought to destroy. Back aboard Sentinel-9, Laena and Jox studied the data pouring in from every sensor. They expect us to crumble, Laena said quietly. But humanity fights with something no weapon can touch, or will to survive. Jox nodded. We've been pushed into the shadows. Now it's time to step into the light. As the Exodus fleet continued its silent vigil near Maldic, the countdown to the galactic evacuation began. 30 days remained, 30 days for the Concord to choose, flee or face the consequences. In the cold depths of space, humanity was no longer the hunted. They were the hunters, and the ghosts in the void were ready to remind the galaxy why. The rogue planet Maldic loomed large in the viewport of Sentinel-9, its swirling crimson storms casting eerie shadows across the ghostly silhouettes of the Exodus fleet. The fleet, vast and silent, hovered in disciplined formation and unspoken statement of power and resolve. 30 days. The countdown had begun. Laena Ma stood before the command center's holomat, the grim reality etched into every corner of the galaxy. Her voice was calm but resolute as she addressed the assembled commanders and aides. We have issued our ultimatum. All alien civilizations within human-affiliated space must evacuate. 30 standard days. No extensions. No negotiations. A murmur rippled through the room, heavy with tension. Commander Jox broke the silence. Some will comply. Others will resist. What's our protocol if they choose the latter? Laena's eyes hardened. We protect human lives, at all costs. The Exodus fleet is authorized to enforce the evacuation by any means necessary. Outside the walls of Sentinel-9, the galaxy stirred in chaos. News of the ultimatum spread like wildfire through star systems, inciting fear, disbelief, and outrage in the capital of the Draken Empire. Chancellor Vorik slammed his fist against the council table. This is a declaration of war. We cannot bow to threats from a species we once sought to control. His advisors counseled caution, but Vorik's fury echoed across their chambers. Mobilize the fleets. We will not retreat. Across the galaxy, smaller factions debated their positions. Some saw humanity's ultimatum as a reckoning long overdue, punishment for centuries of arrogance and betrayal by the Concord itself. Others, mercenaries and smugglers, sharpened their blades and loaded their weapons, ready to profit from the chaos to come. Meanwhile, human settlements braced for impact. Refugees from outer colonies streamed into inner systems, seeking shelter and safety. Emergency relief stations buzzed with frantic activity, preparing for a mass evacuation unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Deep within the Aetheris Command Center, Lene monitored the responses pouring in from Concord worlds. We're seeing compliance from some independent systems, reported Communications Officer Talia. They're evacuating as requested. Good, Lena said. But what about the major powers? Talia hesitated. The Draken Empire and several others have refused. Their fleets are mobilizing near the borders. Line's jaw clenched. Then we prepare. As the deadline loomed, mysterious incidents began to occur near evacuation routes. Convoys were ambushed, supply lines disrupted, and ships disappeared without explanation. Recon drones captured fleeting images of unknown attackers, masked, fast, and deadly. Reports hinted at sabotage coordinated by factions within the Concord, who opposed humanity's rise. On Sentinel-9, Jox reviewed tactical data with his officers. We're dealing with guerrilla tactics, small strikes, meant to delay and destabilize, he said grimly. They want us off balance. Lena nodded. Then we strike decisively. Deploy the autonomous drones. Let them find the shadows and expose the traitors. The battle for survival had shifted from open conflict to covert war. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Concord, whispers of rebellion grew louder. Some alien leaders secretly questioned their government's hardline stances, fearing the cost of war against a people they had underestimated. One such leader, a quiet diplomat named Shira Venz, reached out covertly to Layna. In a clandestine message, Shira wrote, "Not all of us support this madness. There are those willing to help if you'll accept." Laina read the message twice, weighing the risk. In the galaxy's darkest hour, allies could be found in the most unexpected places. Back at the front line, the Exodus fleet remained a specter of inevitable judgment. Their quantum cores pulsed softly, waiting. Lene stood before the holoprojection of the Sol system, watching as human refugees prepared to launch for safety. Her thoughts drifted to the price of this ultimatum: innocent lives, caught in the crossfire of a war, born from betrayal. Yet, she knew humanity had no choice. Survival demanded courage, sacrifice, and unyielding resolve. 30 days, she whispered. 30 days to change the future. As the stars shimmered beyond the viewport, the galaxy faced a choicefully the human reckoning, or stand and face the consequences of betrayal. And humanity was ready. The echo of explosions shattered the eerie silence surrounding the outer colonies. What began as scattered skirmishes soon erupted into full-blown confrontations along critical evacuation corridors. The Exodus fleet's sleek, unmanned vessels carved through the black, their quantum weaponry precise and devastating. Commander Jox stood at the helm of Sentinel-9, eyes sharp as he monitored multiple battlefronts simultaneously. The traitors within the Concorde had not only refused to evacuate, but had unleashed mercenary fleets and sabotage teams, turning every retreat into a desperate fight for survival. Ambush at Theta 4 corridor, Talia reported urgently. Multiple human convoys under heavy fire. Jox barked orders, coordinating defense drones to shield the vulnerable transports. The automated fleets moved with uncanny synchronicity, their coordinated strikes pushing back attackers with ruthless efficiency. Lena watched from the command chamber, her expression a blend of determination and heartbreak. The war was no longer abstract diplomacy, was blood and fire. "They're fighting for every inch," she said softly, "but every lost convoy is a wound to our future." Suddenly, the holoscreen flickered. An encrypted message appeared, marked with the symbol of Shira Venzler, diplomat who had secretly offered help. "Meet me at coordinates Gamma 9, outside the Draken blockade. We have allies waiting." Lena hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Prepare a stealth shuttle." "I'm going." The journey to Gamma 9 was fraught with danger. Human ships slipped through enemy patrols using cloaking technology derived from stolen Concorde prototypes. Lena's small shuttle drifted like a shadow through the dark dot at the rendezvous point. An unmarked vessel awaited. Its hull bore no insignia, but hummed with advanced stealth fields and weapon systems unlike anything Lena had seen. Inside, Shira Vence greeted her with a guarded smile. "You're brave to come here," Shira said quietly. "Not all Concorde leaders support the purge. We've been gathering those willing to resist the war machine." Lena's eyes searched Shira's face. "Why help us?" Shira's voice lowered. "Because betrayal threatens us all. The factions that seek to crush humanity will not stop until every voice of dissent is silenced, including ours." Together, they pored over strategic data. Shira revealed the extent of the resistance. Covert operatives within the Concorde, rebel fleets, and spies ready to turn the tide from within. "We can open corridors for your evacuation, disrupt enemy supply lines, and sabotage their command networks," Shira explained. "But we need your trust." Lena nodded. "Then we'll fight together, back." On Sentinel-9, the news of the Alliance sparked a cautious hope. Jox prepared to integrate rebel forces into their operations, coordinating joint strikes and sharing intelligence. Meanwhile, the Exodus fleet surged forward, leading waves of evacuation ships protected by autonomous fighters. The first major corridor breach took place near the Draken blockade, where human and rebel ships executed a daring assault to open the path. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Explosions lit the void as fleets clashed, and in the chaos, Lena piloted a stealth fighter deep into enemy lines to sabotage their command array. Sweat beaded on her brow as she navigated through dense fire, disabling the array just moments before enemy reinforcements could respond. Her voice crackled, "Overcomes command array destroyed. Corridor clear for evac." Cheers erupted on the other end, but Lena knew the fight was far from over. On the ground, human colonies hardened their defenses. The archivists, those artificial intelligences built to preserve humanity's legacy, controlled automated turrets and coordinated resources with machine efficiency. They became guardians of a culture under siege. In the shadow of these battles, Stories of bravery spread, pilots sacrificing themselves to save convoys, engineers racing against time to repair critical systems, and ordinary citizens standing firm amid chaos. Yet, amid the flames of resistance, darker shadows lurked. Saboteurs continued their deadly work, and whispers of betrayal echoed even within the rebel factions. Trust was a fragile commodity in a war defined by deception. Linnea confronted this reality each day, balancing hope with vigilance. "This is a war of shadows and light," she told Jox. "Every ally counts, but every enemy hides in plain sight." As the final days of the ultimatum ticked closer, the galaxy braced for the inevitable. The Exodus fleet was more than a force of survival. It was a beacon of humanity's unyielding spirit, and amid the stars, flames of resistance burned brighter than ever. The galaxy was a powder keg, teetering on the edge of chaos. Each day that passed pushed the fragile balance closer to collapse. The 30-day deadline, Lena Ma had set, now counted down with unforgiving precision. Inside the dimly lit war room, aboard Centaur 9, tension coiled like a live wire. Lina stood at the center, eyes scanning the holomap that displayed the fractured front lines, shifting battle zones, and contested evacuation routes. Red alerts flickered in rapid succession, a stark reminder of the lives at stake. "We've held the corridors open longer than expected," Commander Jox reported, voice steady but strained. "The alliance with the Concord rebels has been crucial. Their sabotage of enemy supply lines has delayed major fleet deployments." Lina nodded, but her mind raced. "And the enemy, regrouping," Jox said grimly. "They're amassing a counterstrike near the Helios cluster. If they break through there, they could cut off half our evacuation routes." The Helios cluster, an intricate system of starfields and planets, was humanity's lifeline, the path through which thousands of refugees fled to safer havens. Losing it would mean catastrophe outside the command center. Automated defense drones intercepted waves of enemy fighters, their energy beams cutting through the void with deadly precision. The sounds of distant explosions echoed faintly through the station's hull. Linea's communicator beeped. She accepted the incoming call. "Linea, it's Shira." The diplomat's voice crackled. "We have confirmed intelligence. The Draken Empire is preparing a massive offensive, gathering at the Helios cluster. They plan to crush the Exodus fleet before it can fully mobilize." Linea's jaw clenched. "How long until they strike?" "Hours, not days," Shira replied. "They're desperate and ruthless." The war was reaching its crescendo. Lina straightened, voice firm. "Prepare the fleet. We launch a preemptive strike at first light. We can't wait for them to come to us." Jox turned to the tactical officers. "Coordinate with rebel fleets. Target their staging areas and supply hubs. Disrupt their attack before it begins." As preparations surged forward, Lina slipped into her personal quarters for a moment of solitude. The weight of command pressed heavily on her. She thought of Earth's cities burning, the families uprooted, the innocent caught in the crossfire of a war that had been forced upon them. But there was no time for doubt. Humanity's survival demanded unwavering resolve. The next morning, the darkness of space exploded with fire and light. The Exodus fleet, joined by rebel vessels cloaked in stealth, surged toward the Helios cluster. The enemy fleets, vast and heavily armed, awaited with overwhelming numbers. Energy weapons ignited. Starships danced in deadly maneuvers, and explosions blossomed like crimson flowers in the void. Lena piloted her fighter through the chaos, dodging plasma bursts and debris. Her comms buzzed with reports of brave sacrifices, daring strikes, and the relentless spirit of the fleet. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the momentary rhythm. Unidentified vessels entering from the far rim. A tactical officer shouted, "They're fast and heading straight for us." Lainey's eyes narrowed. Could it be the pirates and mercenaries we feared? "No," Jox said grimly. "Sensors indicate human signatures." Confusion rippled through the bridge. On the edge of the battlefield, a rogue fleet emerged, vessels bearing human markings but operated by unknown commanders. They struck swiftly, targeting enemy reinforcements and breaking through blockade lines with brutal efficiency. Lena's communicator buzzed again. This time, the voice was unfamiliar, cold, but urgent. "We are the remnant fleet," the speaker declared, "disavowed and exiled by Concord and humanity alike. We have come to reclaim our place." The sudden appearance of the remnant fleet threw the already chaotic battle into deeper uncertainty. Were they allies or a new threat? Laina made a split-second decision. Coordinate with their ships, but keep defensive measures active. Trust must be earned. The remnant fleet's impact was undeniable. Their ferocity fractured enemy lines, forcing the Draken Empire's forces into retreat. With the blockade shattered, evacuation convoys streamed through the Helios cluster, pushing toward safety. But victory came at a cost. The battlefield was strewn with wreckage and loss. Lena's heart ached for the fallen. But the fight was far from over. In the aftermath, communications from the Concord rebel factions grew more urgent. Many sought peace talks, hoping to end the conflict before it spiraled further. Lina agreed to a temporary ceasefire, opening a fragile door for negotiation. Yet, in the shadows, darker plots brewed. The factions that had betrayed humanity still lurked, unwilling to accept defeat. The tipping point had been reached. The galaxy could no longer ignore humanity's warning. Either it would change course, or be consumed by the flames of war. The fragile ceasefire trembled on the edge of collapse. The halls of the Concord Council, once filled with smug arrogance, now echoed with hurried debates and desperate pleas. Lena Mars stood at the heart of it all, humanity's last voice in a galaxy that teetered between peace and annihilation. The remnant fleet's unexpected intervention had shifted the tide, but it also added a new variable no one could fully control. Diplomatic channels are open, Lena told the council, her voice unwavering. We seek peace, but make no mistake, we will defend our people. This is our final offer. Verathon, the council leader, rubbed his temples. The factions that betrayed you are entrenched. Some will never surrender. Shira Venz stepped forward, her face pale but determined. We can root out the traitors within, but only if we stand united. The room fell silent, the weight of countless lives hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, far from the polished floors of diplomacy, the battlefield told a harsher story. The Draken Empire's forces, battered but unyielding, launched one last desperate assault on the outer evacuation corridors. Their target, Aetheris itself, Lena and Jox prepared for what could be the final stand. The station, already bristling with advanced defenses, became a fortress of hope. Evacuation ships are loading, Jox reported, tension tight in his voice. But this attack could cut off the last escape routes. Lena nodded. We hold the line. Humanity's future depends on it. The enemy fleet descended like a storm. Swarms of fighters and colossal cruisers hammered the station's shields. sending cascades of energy into the void. Inside the Aetherus, engineers raced to repair breached hull sections, while medics tended to wounded soldiers and civilians. The air was thick with resolve and fear. Laena stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the incoming assault. "Deploy the Exodus fleet," she ordered. "Autonomous drones engage. Protect the station at all costs." Outside, waves of unmanned fighters erupted from the docks, swirling into battle with surgical precision. The air trembled with the roar of engines and the flash of energy weapons. Amid the chaos, Laenar's communicator crackled. It was the remnant fleet commander. "We're moving to support," the voice promised. "Hold fast." As the battle raged, Laena's thoughts drifted briefly to Earth, the planet scarred by betrayal, but unbroken in spirit. The last message from the homeworld had come days ago. "We endure, we fight, we will rise." With renewed determination, she gripped the command console. This is humanity's final stand. The Aetherus shook under heavy fire, but its defenses held firm. The combined human and remnant forces pushed back, turning the tide of battle in a daring maneuver. Laena led a squadron through a breach in enemy lines, striking at the flagship of the Draken fleet. Her fighter wove through flak and energy bursts, closing in on the enemy bridge. "Target locked," she announced, firing. The blast tore through the flagship's hull, crippling its command systems and throwing the enemy into disarray. With their leader incapacitated, the Draken forces faltered. The evacuation corridors cleared, allowing thousands of refugees to escape. Back on the Aetherus, Laena allowed herself a rare smile. Victory was within reach, but the cost was steep. The battlefield was littered with the lost heroes who had sacrificed everything for humanity's survival. As the dust settled, Laena addressed the survivors. "We stood on the brink of extinction and refused to fall. This war was born from betrayal, but it ends with unity." Shiraven stepped forward, her expression resolute. "The Concord must rebuild not as conquerors, but as allies. We owe humanity that much." The Council's new era began with fragile peace treaties, joint reconstruction efforts, and an uneasy but hopeful truce. Humanity's warning had been heard. The galaxy had no choice but to listen, and as stars once again twinkled peacefully, Laenamar looked to the horizon not as a harbinger of war, but as a beacon of hope. The last warning had become the first step toward a new future.